Hey, how's everyone doing? Today we will talk about how one's evil can ruin one's own self. This is the story of Venerable Tissa. Let's do the verse first. As rust arisen out of iron, itself that rust eats away, so karma done beyond what's wise lead to a state of woe. In our previous video, we talked about the story of Venerable Angulimala. So this was a person who did a lot of evil things, killing many people, but he repented and used good to overcome all the evil that he had done. This is a little bit opposite in the sense that even though this venerable, called Venerable Tissa, has done good deeds most of his life, but just towards the end of his life, that little bit of misdeed, little bit of badness, or we can say craving, almost caused a whole breakage in his practice. How does it go? Let's listen to the tale. Okay, during the time of the Buddha, there was a monk called Venerable Tissa. So he had been practicing for most of his life as a monk, and he had practiced quite well. So he was to attend a ceremony, a festival, and some lay people have actually given him a cloth to make his robes. So this was just a charitable donation and offering to a respectable monk. And the cloth given to him was a rather rough-ish type of cloth. He went home and he gave the cloth over to his sister for safekeeping. So the sister looked at this cloth and saw that it was a rather rough cloth. And she thought to herself, my brother deserves better. He is such a venerable monk. He should have nice robes. So she took it upon herself to strip down this cloth, pound it, and then just rewove it into a very good quality cloth. In fact, through her diligent effort, it was of very fine quality. So when it was time for him to make the robes, he asked the sister for the cloth so he could hand over to the robe makers for them to make robes for him. The robe makers were ready and he asked the sister for that piece of cloth. And when the sister brought the cloth to him, he was surprised. And he said to his sister, Sister, this is not my cloth. This is of such fine quality. Mine is but a rough piece of cloth. So his sister told him what she had done, that she had rewoven the cloth, and this was indeed from the same cloth that he gave her. So it was effectively his, despite her value adding to the cloth to make it better. So he was quite pleased with what the sister has done, and he handed over this better quality cloth to the robe makers. And the sister, wanting him to have good robes, she also prepared rice gruel and such things for the robe makers so that they can concentrate and make good robes for her brother. So when the robes were ready, he looked at the robes and they were, to him, magnificent. It was really nice to look at such robes after wearing old, rather, barely there robes most of the time, because monks had to make do with whatever they could get from the supporters who were the lay people supporting them. And he was indeed looking forward to wearing those robes for the ceremony. However, before the ceremony, he suddenly passed away. And he was reborn due to his attachment to this set of robes. He was reborn as a louse within the folds of this robes. So this louse was like haunting the robes, more or less. And then when the other monks who were still present, they looked upon the robes and they said, oh, Venerable Tissa is no longer around. Let us divide these robes among ourselves. So the louse heard it, and he was so upset. He was so attached to the robe. He could not believe that they were going to take his robes and split among themselves. So he was screaming, very loud for a louse, but the monks, humans, we can't hear a louse scream. The louse screamed and yelled and shouted, like, do not do this, you are taking my property, all sorts of, like fitful wailing. So although the monks could not hear this, the Buddha in his perfume chamber, because he had these powers, of course, um, inside, hearing and so forth, he could hear this louse, and he knew this louse was Venerable Tissa reborn. And he knew that the louse was very upset because of this strong craving. Venerable Tissa had strong craving to hold on to this one prized possession, the beautiful new robes. And therefore, due to this strong craving, he attached himself to the robe in his next life as a louse. The Buddha gave the instructions to the monks to leave the robes aside for 7 days. Do not divide up the robes. Do not give it to anybody else. Just leave it be. Don't touch it for 7 days. After 7 days, you may do what you want with it. So after 7 days, the louse died because that was the lifespan of the louse. And the louse, who was Venerable Tissa, was reborn in the abode of the Tushita gods. This was in the Deva realms. It is a very fortunate rebirth. After 7 days, as instructed by the Buddha, the monks divided up Venerable Tissa's robes among themselves. But they were curious, so they went to ask the Buddha, "O teacher, why did we have to wait 7 days for the division of the robes? What was your intention?" The Buddha told them what he had seen and what he had heard. He knew that Venerable Tissa, due to this unfortunate craving and attachment to the new robes towards the end of his life, this one misstep, this one unfortunate impurity to his thoughts and practice, he was reborn as a louse so that he could stay with the robes. But after 7 days, the louse had died and he had let it run its course. He was reborn in the Deva realm. And this was where he should have gone for his years of good practice and good cultivation. So, if during the time as the louse, he had witnessed the monks taking his robes and dividing his robes, he would have been so angry and generated so much ill will and hatred that going to the Deva realm would be quite impossible, at least not immediately after that lifetime. So, what Buddha did was he prevented this enmity, ill will, hatred from arising within the louse. He let the louse enjoy the robes during the 7 days of his life as a louse, and upon his passing, be able to go towards the Deva realm. So just one minor craving, one simple craving and attachment to a nice set of robes can cause a good practicing monk, a venerable, to suffer in his next lifetime. What more if you had very, very strong attachments to something in this mortal world? If you die, but you think of your material possessions and other things, it is unlikely that you can let go and move on to a better place. Therefore, we have to cultivate our mind, our hearts, and our thoughts to let go when it is necessary to let go. Please like and subscribe. Help support my channel. Thanks.